Okay, so we are just going to walk through the process for creating an action plan. In this action plan, we're just going to have 2 steps, but action plans can have unlimited number of steps. The steps will be used to add a contact to a newsletter. So basically, I'm already a little ahead of myself, so we're going to go from the beginning by clicking on Calendar and then Plans Manager. It takes us to this list of action plans, which provides a number of other form templates that basically we could even copy. But if you go down and click on Create Plan, and we add the name. I like to use the same naming convention for all the plans, just so they stick together. So they all start with the 0 here. And add contact to newsletter. And any appropriate information in here is helpful, but in this case we're just going to say add contact to newsletter because there's not much more to talk about in that box. So the first activity, click on add activity, and we're going to say add newsletter. Contact type to contact. Okay, so in our contacts we have different contact types. Newsletter is one of them, so we want to identify that they've been added to this group, and so that's what we're referencing there. The number of days from the start date for the action plan is 0, so it's going to start immediately, and then we're also selecting the person responsible for taking care of this task. Okay, so any notes down here would be added, but in this case it's pretty clear on what that means. So if you click Add Activity, it'll go back to the plan and show you the activities in the plan. We're going to add another activity and add contact to newsletter list. Oops. List. And Merrill. So Merrill is our printing company. We're going to have that happen on the same day. We could have it start, for example, a day after the other task is complete, but in this case we really just want everything done at the same time. One side note, these are all to-do tasks, but we could set up call tasks and so on up here. In any case, we're going to add the contact to the newsletter list in Merrill. We have a few different newsletter lists in Merrill. Depending on where the person lives, they may get a slightly different version of the contact list, or of the newsletter. And so there are 3 different lists in Merrill, and so I'm just going to identify each one here in the notes section so that when the person's being added to the newsletter, you have this little quick reference to say, okay, they are not in any of these towns, Watertown, Waltham, Newton, Brookline, for example, so we're going to add them to the generic newsletter. Or they are in Wellesley, so we're going to add them to Newsletter South. Okay. So basically, this is just a little reference section that if there are additional notes like this, we can add them so that when the task is being complete, it's a little bit easier to complete without having to cross-reference other documents. I'm going to click on Add Activity. And now we have our 2-step action plan. And an idea of how these action plans are used. Basically, if we go over to a contact, if, for example, we're talking to a contact, hold on, and want to add them to the newsletter, basically, it's a much easier process. We just click on Perform Action Plan.
Daddy, who
Apply
are you talking to?
Action Plan, the computer. Hold on one second. And let's see. And here it is. add contact to newsletter. You can set the actual start date and then save it, and you're done. I'm done.